Hello and welcome back, my friends. It's so great to have you here again for another episode of Super English Talks. I want to start by saying thank you, really. Thank you for being here and for supporting this journey. Every time you choose to spend a few minutes listening, thinking, and learning with me, it truly means a lot. You could be doing anything right now, watching a show, relaxing, working, but you're here. That tells me that you care about your growth, your learning, and your future. And that makes this space feel very special. The topic, time. Today, I want to talk about something that affects every single one of us, no matter who we are or where we live, time. Time is something we can't stop or control. It moves forward no matter what we do. It doesn't wait for us. It doesn't ask for permission. It just keeps going, second by second, day by day, year by year. Sometimes, time feels like a good friend. It gives us new chances, new opportunities, and moments to start again. But sometimes, if we're not paying attention, time can also feel like a thief. It quietly takes away moments we thought we had plenty of. Have you ever looked back and thought, wow, that year went by so fast? Maybe you told yourself, I'll start exercising soon, or I'll practice English every day, and suddenly a whole year passed and nothing really changed. I remember a friend who always said he wanted to learn to play the guitar. He talked about it for years. Every time I asked him if he started, he smiled and said, not yet. Maybe when work gets easier. Maybe when life slows down. But guess what? Life never slowed down for him. Work stayed busy. Responsibilities kept coming. Weeks turned into months and months into years. Now, sometimes he says, if I had started back then, I could be playing beautifully today. And that's the thing about time, it passes anyway. Whether we act or not, time moves forward. What will you do with your time? Think about your own life. 1 year from now will come no matter what. You can't stop it, but you can decide what happens during that year. So imagine yourself 1 year in the future. What will you be thankful for? Will you be proud that you started something, even something small? Or will you wish that you had taken that first step? That's why this message is so important. Time will pass anyway, so do the thing. Start the project. Learn the skill. Practice your English. Because regret is heavier than failure. Failure teaches us. Regret only hurts us. So, as we continue this episode, keep this picture in your mind, the picture of you, 1 year from now. What will that version of you thank yourself for starting today? Because time won't wait. And neither should we. Waiting for the right time. One of the most common things people say, whether it's about learning English, starting a business, or getting healthy, is, I'll start when the time is right. That sounds smart, right? We all want to wait for the perfect moment, when we have more free time, more energy, more motivation, or maybe even more money. But here's the truth, the perfect time almost never comes. Life doesn't suddenly stop and say, okay, now everything is perfect for you to begin. It keeps going. Days pass. Weeks pass. Months pass. How many times have you told yourself, I'll start tomorrow? And then tomorrow came, but you didn't start, and tomorrow became next week, next month, and before you knew it, a whole year had disappeared. It happens to all of us. It's normal. We tell ourselves that the future us will be stronger, more disciplined, more ready. But the truth is, the only time we ever really have is now. There's a simple English saying that I love. Time flies. It's short but powerful. Time doesn't walk slowly. It doesn't stop for us to prepare. It flies, and if we don't move with it, we get left behind. So, my friends, as you listen today, I want you to remember this. You don't have to do everything at once. You just have to start. Even a small step today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Because time will pass anyway. So do the thing. Start learning. Start improving. Start creating. And 1 year from now, you'll be so glad you did. The blink of an eye. Sometimes it feels like life is rushing past us, doesn't it? Like the days, weeks, and months are moving faster than we can keep up. We wake up, go through our routines, and before we know it, another week is gone. There's a common English expression that captures this feeling in the blink of an eye. Think about that image. A blink lasts less than a second. And yet, that's how quickly time can seem to move. One moment you're celebrating New Year's Day, and in what feels like a blink, it's December again. Waiting for the perfect moment. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who really wants to learn English. They talk about it, they think about it, they plan for it, but they wait. They wait for the perfect course. They wait until they have more free time. They wait until they feel confident. Maybe they wait until their kids are older or their work becomes less stressful. But while they wait, time doesn't wait. Days keep passing. Weeks turn into months. And before they realize it, a whole year has gone by. When they look back, they feel disappointed, not because they couldn't do it, but because they didn't start. Now, compare that with someone else. Someone who decides not to wait. They begin right away, even if it's messy, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, even if their English isn't perfect. That person, 1 year later, will be amazed at how far they've come. The difference between these two people isn't about intelligence or talent. It's simply about taking action. One person waited for the right moment. The other person created it. The truth about the right time. We all secretly hope that life will give us a sign, a green light that says, "Now you're ready. Now is the perfect time to begin." But life doesn't work like that. There's rarely a perfect moment to start something meaningful. If you're waiting for your schedule to calm down, for your confidence to grow, or for everything to feel easy, you might be waiting forever. While we hesitate, time doesn't. It doesn't stop to let us catch up. It doesn't pause for us to prepare. It keeps ticking steady, unstoppable, like the hands of a clock. Looking back. Sometimes, when I look back at my own life, I can clearly see moments when I waited too long. Moments when I told myself, "I'll do it later," or "I'm not ready yet." And later, I realized I had missed opportunities that might never come again. Maybe you felt that too, looking back and wishing you had started sooner. But I've also seen the opposite. Moments when I just jumped in, even though I wasn't fully ready, and somehow, things worked out better than I expected. It's almost magical. Sometimes action itself creates the perfect conditions we were waiting for. It's as if the universe rewards movement, not waiting. The question. So here's my question for you. What are you waiting for right now? Are you telling yourself that you'll study more seriously next month? That you'll start your dream project when things calm down? That you'll write that book, apply for that job, or begin that new habit once life becomes easier? But what if that perfect moment never comes? What if, a year from now, you look back and realize you're still waiting? The weight of time. Remember this. Time will pass anyway. That's what makes time so heavy it never stops. It flies. It slips through our fingers. It disappears in the blink of an eye. The only way to make that weight feel lighter is to use our time well. To start now, even if we're not ready, even if it's imperfect, even if it's small. Because tomorrow will always feel like the easier choice. But only today gives us the power to change something. So don't wait for perfect. Start where you are, with what you have right now. Because one day, you'll look back and thank yourself for not waiting. Failure versus regret. When we talk about time and taking action, there's one truth we can't escape. Sometimes, when you take action, you fail. And honestly, that's okay. Because even though failure can hurt in the moment, it's still lighter than regret. Failure stings for a little while, but regret stays with you for years. Regret whispers in your ear, reminding you of all the things you didn't do, the chances you didn't take, the dreams you didn't chase. The lesson in failure. Let's imagine something simple. You study hard for an exam. You go in, do your best, but you don't pass. Of course, that feels bad. Nobody enjoys failing. But even in that failure, there's something valuable. You've learned where your weaknesses are. You know what to improve. And most importantly, you've gained experience. Now you can try again, and this time you're stronger, smarter, and more prepared. That's the gift failure gives us, lessons. Now let's compare that with someone else, someone who never takes the exam at all. They don't try because they're scared of failing. They tell themselves, I'll do it later, or I'm not ready yet. A year passes. 2 years. And deep down, they start to wonder, what if I had tried? What if I had taken that chance? Where would I be now? That little voice, the one that says what if, that's regret. And unlike failure, regret doesn't teach you anything. It just weighs you down with questions that have no answers. A simple, human example. Think of someone who really likes another person. Maybe they want to ask them out on a date. They want to say something, but they don't. They stay quiet because they're afraid of rejection. So they say nothing. Life goes on. The other person meets someone else, maybe even gets married. Years later, that same person might still wonder, what would have happened if I had spoken up? What if they had said yes? That's regret. And it lasts much longer than rejection ever would have. Because rejection, even though it hurts, gives you a clear answer. You tried, you found out, and you can move on. Regret keeps you stuck, replaying the same moment in your mind, imagining what could have been. The truth about success. There's a powerful saying in English, failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of success. Every successful person you admire, athletes, writers, business owners, teachers, or even fluent English speakers, has failed many times. They made mistakes. They fell down. They got embarrassed. But they learned. They adjusted. They got better. Failure gave them direction. Failure gave them experience. Failure made them stronger. Regret, on the other hand, gives you nothing. It doesn't help you grow. It doesn't build you up. It just leaves you wondering what might have happened if you had been brave enough to try. A story to remember. I once heard a story about a nurse who worked with people near the end of their lives. She said that the most common thing her patients told her wasn't, I wish I hadn't failed so many times. No. What they said was, I wish I had been braver. I wish I had tried. I wish I had done the things I really wanted to do. Their pain wasn't about the mistakes they made, it was about the chances they never took. That's how heavy regret can be. It doesn't fade easily. In fact, it often grows heavier as the years go by. Failure or regret, which would you choose? So let me ask you, would you rather fail and learn or look back years later and wonder what might have been? Think about your English journey, for example. You might make mistakes when you speak. Maybe your grammar isn't perfect. Maybe your pronunciation isn't clear yet. That's okay. Every mistake you make is a step forward. Every error is proof that you're trying. But if you never speak, if you never practice because you're afraid of failing, then regret will follow you. And one day, you might look back and realize how far you could have gone if only you had allowed yourself to fail along the way. The weight of failure versus regret. The truth is simple. Failure is temporary. It might hurt, it might feel uncomfortable, but it passes. Regret stays. And when you put them side by side, regret is always heavier. Failure gives you something to work with, lessons, experience, strength. Regret gives you nothing but questions. So the next time you face a choice, to try or to stay safe, remember this. Failure will help you grow. Regret will only hold you back. Choose action. Choose courage. Because the pain of failure fades, but the pain of regret can last a lifetime. The real loss. So, the next time you face a choice, whether to try and risk failing, or to stay safe and risk regret, I hope you remember this. Falling is not the end. It's just part of the journey. But never trying at all, that's where the real loss happens. Because when you fall, you can stand back up. You can learn. You can grow. But if you never take that first step, you'll never know what could have been. Common barriers. When we think about taking action, whether it's learning a new skill, starting a project, or making a change in our lives, most of us don't stop because we don't care. We stop because of barriers. These barriers are like invisible walls in our minds that hold us back. They're not real doors we can see or heavy chains we can break. They're mental and emotional, and sometimes those are the hardest ones to overcome. 1. The fear of judgment. One of the biggest barriers is fear of judgment. Think about it. How many times have you wanted to try something new but stopped because you were worried about what other people would think? Maybe you wanted to practice speaking English out loud, but the thought of making a mistake in front of others made you stay quiet. Or maybe you wanted to share something you created, a drawing, a story, a song, but you imagined people laughing or criticizing you. That fear can feel so strong that it almost paralyzes you. But here's the truth. Most people are too busy with their own lives to spend much time judging yours. And even if someone does judge you, their opinion doesn't define your worth. It doesn't take away your effort, your creativity, or your courage. Still, this fear often keeps us silent, frozen in place, wishing we had been braver. But every time you choose courage over fear, your confidence grows a little stronger. 2. The voice of self-doubt. Another powerful barrier is self-doubt, that quiet but persistent voice inside your head that says, "You're not good enough. Who are you to even try this?" It tells you that other people are smarter, more talented, or more deserving than you are. And because you believe that voice, you stop yourself before you even begin. But here's something to think about. How can you possibly know what you're capable of if you never try? Self-doubt builds a cage around your potential. It locks you in with negative thoughts, and the only way out is to act anyway. When you take action, even a small one, you prove that voice wrong. You show yourself that you can do more than you thought. And slowly, your confidence starts to grow. 3. The trap of perfectionism. Then, there's perfectionism, and oh, this one is sneaky. Perfectionism tells you that everything must be perfect before you begin. It convinces you that you need the right tools, the right timing, the right plan. It says, you can't start until you're ready. But here's the problem. You never really feel ready. Perfectionism keeps you stuck in preparation mode, always planning, never doing. And while you wait for perfect, time keeps moving. The truth is, perfection isn't possible. Even the best writers, teachers, and professionals still make mistakes. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to make progress. Progress is built on small, imperfect steps forward. You learn by doing, not by waiting. Breaking the barriers. All these barriers, fear of judgment, self-doubt, perfectionism, they have one thing in common. They live inside your mind. They seem strong, but they lose power the moment you act. When you speak up, even if your English isn't perfect. When you share your work, even if it's not flawless. When you take a step, even if it's small. You start to break those walls. And each time you do, you remind yourself of something important. You're capable. You're learning. You're growing. So the next time your mind tells you, wait until you're ready, say to yourself, I'm ready enough to start. Because courage isn't about being fearless. It's about acting even when you're afraid. And once you take that first step, the next one always gets easier. The trap of perfectionism. Perfectionism makes you believe that unless you can do something perfectly, you shouldn't do it at all. It whispers things like, wait until you can do it flawlessly, or don't show anyone your work until it's perfect. And what happens? You wait. You polish. You hesitate. And sometimes, you never begin at all. Perfectionism often looks like high standards, but in reality, it's just fear wearing a disguise. It's the fear of not being good enough. The fear of being judged. The fear of failing. But the truth is, progress matters far more than perfection. There's a popular saying that captures this perfectly. Done is better than perfect. Every imperfect attempt brings you closer to skill, while waiting for perfection brings you nowhere. Progress is movement. Waiting is stillness. And nothing grows in stillness. Waiting for motivation. Another common barrier many of us face is waiting for motivation. So many people believe they need to feel inspired before they can start. They think, I'll begin when I'm in the mood, when I have more energy, when I feel ready. But motivation doesn't work like that. It's unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. If you depend on it, you'll make very little progress. What truly creates results isn't motivation. It's consistency, showing up even when you don't feel like it. Ironically, motivation often follows action. Once you start, once you take that first step, you begin to feel motivated. Not the other way around. But so many people sit and wait for inspiration to strike, like lightning from the sky, and while they wait, time keeps slipping away. What's stopping you? Let me ask you something directly. What stops you from starting? Is it fear of judgment? Is it self-doubt? Is it that perfectionist voice in your head? Or is it the habit of waiting for motivation? Be honest with yourself for a moment. Think about something you've wanted to do for a long time, something that excites you, but that you still haven't started. What barrier is standing in your way? Here's the good news. These barriers are normal. You are not alone in facing them. Almost everyone struggles with fear, self-doubt, perfectionism, or lack of motivation at some point. The difference between people who move forward and people who stay stuck is not the absence of barriers, it's the decision to push through them. Courage isn't about never feeling afraid. Courage means acting even though you're afraid. So, the next time you feel that familiar hesitation, pause and ask yourself, is this barrier real, or is it just in my mind? Most of the time, you'll find it's not the world holding you back, it's your own thoughts. And the beautiful thing about thoughts is that they can be changed. Habits can be broken. You are not stuck. A personal story. I want to share something personal with you, because stories stay with us in a way that abstract ideas don't. Ideas sound nice, but when you see them through real experiences, through people's struggles, choices, and little victories, they suddenly feel real and possible. A few years ago, I decided I wanted to learn Spanish. I had always loved languages. I work with English learners every day, and I thought Spanish would help me connect with even more people. But here's the funny part: for years, I kept saying the same thing. I'll start soon. I'll sign up for a class. I'll get around to it when life slows down. But life never slowed down. Work was busy. Responsibilities piled up. And months turned into years. Then one day, I had a simple but painful realization. If I had started back when I first thought about it, I would already be fluent. That thought hit me hard. I remember thinking, time will pass anyway. If I had just done a little bit each day, even 10 minutes, I'd already have the skill I've always wanted. So, I stopped waiting. I bought a beginner's textbook. I downloaded a free app. And I made a promise to myself. Even if it's only 10 minutes a day, I'll practice. Those first few weeks? Messy. My pronunciation was awkward. I kept forgetting words. I felt like a kid learning to talk all over again. But little by little, I improved. And something amazing happened. The most powerful part wasn't learning Spanish itself, but realizing that starting, even imperfectly, was far more powerful than all those years I spent waiting for the perfect moment. The lesson. And here's what I learned from that experience. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need to feel completely ready. You just need to begin. Because once you take that first step, everything else becomes possible. Starting opens the door that waiting keeps closed. And this doesn't just apply to languages, it applies to everything in life. Your goals, your dreams, your growth. Waiting feels safe. But starting, even imperfectly, is what changes everything. The power of starting no matter when. There's a story you might already know about Colonel Harlan Sanders, the man who created Kentucky Fried Chicken, or KFC. What's truly incredible about his story is that he didn't start his famous business until he was in his 60s. Before that, he had tried many different jobs. He worked as a farmer, a streetcar conductor, a soldier, and even studied law. But nothing really worked out. Most people at that age would have said, "It's too late for me. My time has passed." But Sanders didn't believe that. Instead, he took his recipe for fried chicken, got in his car, and traveled across the United States, going door to door to convince restaurants to use it. He was rejected over 1,000 times. But he didn't give up. Eventually, one restaurant said yes. And from that single yes, his idea grew into one of the largest fast food empires in the world. Now imagine if he had said, "I'm too old. It's too late to try." The world might never have tasted his chicken. Stories like his remind us that action beats waiting every single time. Whether you're young, middle-aged, or older, it doesn't matter. The clock keeps ticking. And the beautiful part is this: as long as you're alive, it's never truly too late to begin. You might not reach perfection, honestly, none of us do, but you will reach progress. And step by step, that progress can completely transform your life. Sometimes I ask myself a question that always stops me in my tracks. 10 years from now, what will I wish I had started today? It's a powerful question because it forces me to think ahead, to realize that my future self depends on the choices I make now. Will I give that future self the gift of action or the burden of regret? That's a question worth asking yourself, too. Maybe for you, it's English. Maybe you've been thinking about speaking more, but you're afraid of making mistakes. Or maybe you've been planning to take a test, apply for that job, or move to another country, but you keep waiting for the perfect moment. Let these stories remind you, there's no such thing as perfect timing. There is only today. If Colonel Sanders could start at 65, and if I could finally begin learning Spanish after years of waiting, then you can start too, right where you are, with what you have. Because action, even small action, is always better than standing still. Mindset shift. Progress over perfection. One of the most powerful changes we can make in life is learning to value progress over perfection. Perfection sounds beautiful, flawless, polished, complete. But it's also a trap, a moving target that's always just out of reach. And while we're chasing it, we often forget to simply begin. That's why people say, done is better than perfect. Because done means you tried, you created, you learned. Perfect often means you never finished, or worse, you never even began. Think about it like this. When a baby learns to walk, no one expects them to be perfect. They stumble, they wobble, they fall. But every shaky step is still progress. And eventually, those unsteady steps become confident walking and later, running. Now imagine if a baby thought, "I won't try until I can run perfectly." They would never learn to move at all. It sounds silly when we picture a child that way, but as adults, many of us do exactly that. We say, "I'll speak English when my grammar is perfect. I'll share my work when it's flawless." And so we wait. We polish. We delay. Until one day, we look back and realize that perfectionism was just fear wearing a fancy mask. In the end, it wasn't protecting us, it was holding us back. Progress, no matter how small, will always take you farther than perfection ever will. Progress, not perfection. Here's another expression I love. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. It's so true in every area of life. Nobody begins as an expert. Every musician once played out of tune. Every writer once wrote awkward sentences. Every fluent English speaker once struggled with vocabulary and pronunciation. Greatness doesn't come first. It comes later, through repetition, through mistakes, through showing up again and again. The only way to get there is to begin right where you are, with all your imperfections. Consistency is the real secret. Small steps repeated over time create big results. Imagine you decide to read just 2 pages in English every day. That doesn't sound like much, right? But in a year, that's over 700 pages, the length of several books. Or imagine you practice speaking for just 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes feels small, almost too easy to ignore. But in a month, that's 5 hours of practice. In a year, that's 60 hours. That's progress. Not perfect. Not flawless. But real progress. And progress will always beat standing still. Now pause for a moment and think about your own English practice. Do you sometimes hold back because you're afraid of making mistakes? Do you avoid speaking because you want to say things perfectly? What would happen if you changed that mindset, if you saw every mistake as a step forward? Every time you speak, even with errors, you're training your brain, your mouth, and your confidence. You're building fluency, not perfection. And fluency grows through practice, not through silence. I've had students who were so focused on perfection that they almost never spoke. They wrote beautiful sentences on paper, but when it came to conversation, they froze. And then I've had students who made mistake after mistake, laughing at themselves, trying anyway. Guess which group improved faster? The ones who took action. The ones who focused on progress. They were willing to sound imperfect today so they could sound better tomorrow. That's the mindset shift we all need. So here's the challenge. Instead of asking, "Is this perfect?" start asking, "Am I moving forward?" Perfection is a finish line that doesn't exist. Progress is the path that keeps you going. One step at a time. One attempt after another. Progress adds up. And before you know it, you'll look back and realize just how far you've come. Remember this. Done is better than perfect. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Let those words guide you, not just in your English journey, but in anything you've been waiting to do. Start small. Stay consistent. And trust that progress, not perfection, will lead you to growth. Reflection, your moment to begin. We've talked about many important things in this journey together. We talked about how time keeps moving, how failure is lighter than regret, how barriers often hold us back, and how progress matters more than perfection. Now, let's slow down. Let's turn the focus gently toward you. This is your moment to pause, to breathe, and to reflect. Because sometimes, growth doesn't come from hearing more advice. It comes from giving yourself time to think, to listen to your own heart, and to be honest about where you are. Let's begin with a simple but powerful question. If you started today, where could you be in a year? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine it. Think about your English learning journey, or maybe another dream you've been carrying quietly inside you. Maybe it's passing an exam. Maybe it's speaking confidently in English with others. Maybe it's starting that small project you've been postponing again and again. Now, picture yourself 1 year from today. How much progress could you make if you took small steps every day, starting now? Even 10 minutes a day can change everything. The question isn't, can I do it perfectly? It's, can I begin even if it's small? Here's another question to think about. What has been stopping me? We often say we don't have enough time, or that we're waiting for the perfect moment, or that we're scared to fail. But if we look deeper, is it really about time? Or is it about the habit of waiting? Is it really about perfection? Or is it about the fear of starting small and imperfect? Take a few seconds and be honest with yourself. What is the voice in your mind that keeps whispering reasons not to start? What does it tell you? You're not ready? You'll fail. You'll look silly? Naming that voice is the first step to silencing it. And now, ask yourself this. If not now, when? Life doesn't wait. Time doesn't stop. It flows forward like a river that never pauses. A year from now, you will arrive somewhere. The question is, will you arrive closer to your goals, or will you still be standing in the same place, wishing you had begun? This reflection isn't about guilt or regret. It's about awareness. It's about being awake to your own life, seeing where you are, and choosing to take one small step forward. Now, think about the difference between these two feelings. The feeling when you try, even when you're nervous. And the feeling when you delay, when you say, maybe tomorrow. When you try, even a little, you feel light, proud, alive. But when you delay, that heavy feeling stays in your heart. It whispers you could have. So ask yourself, which feeling do I want to carry with me? The energy of trying or the weight of regret? And finally, one last question for today. What is one small thing I can do today? It doesn't have to be big or perfect. Maybe it's practicing English for 10 minutes. Maybe it's writing one short paragraph in your journal. Maybe it's sending a message to a friend in English. Whatever it is, let it be small but real. Because reflection without action is just daydreaming. But reflection followed by even the tiniest action, that's the beginning of change. Take a deep breath right now. Let these questions rest in your mind for a while. Don't rush to answer them. Sometimes the most powerful answers grow slowly, like a seed that takes time to become a tree. The key is to let these questions reach your heart and to listen when your heart answers. This quiet time of reflection is a gift to yourself. Use it well. Start small. Start now. And let time, action, and progress carry you forward, one step at a time. Take the first step. Taking the first step is often the hardest part of any journey. Many people sit with their dreams, their goals, their ambitions, and tell themselves, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll begin when I feel ready. But here's the truth, there is no perfect time to begin. There is only now. Waiting for the right moment often becomes another way of delaying progress. We convince ourselves we're not ready yet, but what we're really doing is holding ourselves back. The secret to growth, to change, to transformation lies in the courage to begin. Just one small step today can start the journey you've been imagining for so long. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be flashy. And it definitely doesn't have to be perfect. What matters most is that you start. Because once you start, something powerful happens, momentum builds. And with momentum, what once seemed impossible begins to feel possible. Think about learning English, for example. So many learners wait until they feel ready to speak. But if you never speak, you never practice. And without practice, confidence never grows. You might tell yourself, I'll speak when my grammar is perfect, or I'll join a conversation when I know more words. But waiting for perfection is like waiting for a train that never comes. The longer you wait, the more the opportunity passes by. Instead, try something small. Say just one sentence in English every morning. That's it, one sentence. It might sound simple, maybe even too simple, but that's where the magic starts. After a week, you'll feel a little more comfortable. After a month, you'll begin to notice your confidence growing. And after a year, you'll look back and realize how far you've come, all because you decided to take that first small, brave step. Taking the first step also means being willing to take risks. Yes, you might stumble over your words. You might mispronounce something or forget a word mid-sentence. That's okay. That's how learning happens. Every mistake becomes a small lesson that moves you forward. There's a phrase I love, fall forward, not backward. When you fall forward, even when you make mistakes, you're still moving ahead. Every attempt brings growth, while waiting brings nothing but regret. And this idea doesn't just apply to English learning. It applies to everything, starting a business, writing a book, learning a new skill, or changing your life in any way. The first imperfect step will always teach you more than months or even years of waiting for perfection. Here's another way to picture it. Imagine holding a small seed in your hand. You keep it there, thinking, I'll plant it when the soil is perfect, when the weather is right, when I'm sure it will grow. But if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, that seed never leaves your hand. It never has a chance to grow. Now, imagine planting it today, even if the soil isn't perfect, even if you're not sure what will happen. Slowly, quietly, it begins to grow roots. Then a small sprout appears. And over time, with sunlight, rain, and care, that tiny seed becomes something living and strong. Your dreams work the same way. They need action to grow, not endless planning or perfect conditions. And action always begins with one small step. So, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what is one small step I can take today toward my dream? Maybe it's writing down your goals. Maybe it's recording yourself speaking English for 2 minutes. Maybe it's reading a short article in English or texting a friend in English. Whatever it is, let it be small, simple, and real. Because that one small step might not look like much today, but over time, it can change everything. All progress begins with a single decision to start. So, don't wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is now. Plant your seed. Take your step. And trust that once you begin, the path will start to unfold in front of you. Whatever it is, don't overthink it. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Just take the step, however small it may seem. Remember, progress is built through consistency, not perfection. At the heart of all achievement lies bravery. The bravery to begin when you don't feel ready, to speak even when you're afraid of mistakes, to try even when success feels far away. It's in those small, brave steps that transformation begins. Think of every action you take as an investment in your future self. The version of you a year from now will thank you for the courage you showed today. So take that first step. Plant that seed. Speak that sentence. Fall forward and keep moving. Because once you start, the journey has already begun. And that truly is the most important victory of all. As we come to the end of today's episode, let's pause for a moment and look back on what we've explored together. We talked about the unstoppable flow of time, how it moves forward whether we act or not. We talked about how quickly it passes, how easily it slips by if we keep waiting for someday. We reflected on the weight of regret compared to failure, and how taking even one small step today is always better than waiting for the perfect moment that may never come. We looked at the barriers that hold us back, fear of judgment, self-doubt, perfectionism, or waiting for motivation, and how acknowledging these barriers is the first step toward breaking them. And most importantly, we discovered that progress matters more than perfection. That done is better than perfect. That you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to become great. I want to thank you sincerely for spending this time with me. Your willingness to listen, reflect, and grow means so much. It's not easy to face the challenges of learning and self-improvement. Yet here you are, showing up for yourself. That alone is something to be proud of. Every minute you spend learning, every word you practice, every reflection you take seriously is a step forward. And I am genuinely proud of you for that. Before we finish, I want to leave you with one final thought, one simple challenge. What is one thing you will start today? It could be speaking one sentence in English, writing a short paragraph, sending that email you've been putting off, or taking a small step toward a personal dream. Whatever it is, start now. Take that first imperfect action. Because time will pass anyway, whether you act or not. And the regret of not starting is far heavier than any failure you might meet along the way. Remember this: every small step counts. Each moment you spend practicing, learning, or trying something new is an investment in your future self. And that future self, a year from now, will look back and thank you for the courage you showed today. So make the choice to act, to move forward, to fall forward, not backward. Let your story be one of progress, not perfection. Thank you for listening, for reflecting, and for growing. I hope today's message inspires you to take that small but meaningful action. Carry this thought with you. Time will pass anyway. What's the one thing you'll start today?